So the auditions to be Kamala Harris's running mate are in full force. They're all over cable television. It's actually kind of funny to watch them. We played a soundbite with Ben of all these Democrats calling J.D. Vance weird. And it was like every single one of them, from Gretchen Whitmer to Josh Shapiro to J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois. I mean, just one after the other. Mark Halperin, who correctly predicted that Joe Biden was going to step down, last Sunday, a week ago. He says, he at least seems to be saying it's going to be Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania. He posted a picture of him and said developing, kind of Drudge style. And that would make some sense given how Pennsylvania's a must win, but definitely hearing a lot of other names still in the mix. Tara, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's not surprising to see them on TV trying to show her that they can be a great advocate, that they can be the pit bull if she needs one. I mean, that's part of the job of being a vice president is you're a surrogate. You're the person who goes out on the campaign trail, raises money, fundraising. And I've heard a lot of different names. I think Shapiro is an obvious choice because he is from Pennsylvania. That is a 19 electoral college vote state. It's almost a must win if you don't win the Sun Belt, Arizona or Georgia. He's very popular. He won his previous election 2 years ago by 15 points. That's pretty stunning. And the question now is whether picking a Jewish vice president would anger some of the Muslim voters in Michigan. Do you win Pennsylvania but lose support in Michigan? It's a real thing that's being spoken about. He's a devout Jew. He is, and he's spoken out in support of Israel. So that's something to be factored right now. But then again, Kamala Harris.
But speaking out in support of Israel is a different thing, right? Like what we're hearing in left-wing press over and over is, but he's Jewish, so it's a downside. What the fuck? Well, I'm sorry, but it's just total bullshit that we're talking like this now on cable news. Like that's an okay thing. Yeah, unfortunately he's black, so no, it's a no. I know you're not doing that, but that's how they're talking about him.
Well, it's identity politics. I mean, that's truly what it is. And in fact, like some Democratic insider said to me that she actually is soft with Jewish voters right now within the party. So he's seen as someone who might be able to speak to suburbanites. He might be able to help her in swing districts down ballot in New York and California. Mm-hmm. And those were the districts that the Democrats lost in 2022. And that is why the Republicans have the House with just 4 seats. So, I mean, he has a lot of advantages. But then some people say, bring on Mark Kelly. He's a guy's guy. He's an astronaut. His wife is Gabby Giffords. He's got a compelling story. Senators love him. And crucially, she's also seen a stop on immigration.
Arizona is not
Trump is up by 7 points.
Yeah. Mark Kelly, as much as I love his bio and his brother, by the way, his brother's also an astronaut. He came on my show at NBC and he was amazing. Cool. He was totally charming. The brother is like, I was a straight C student. I never got good grades. I don't know how I became an astronaut, but for what it's worth, you can do it too. Everyone can do it. He was just a doll. Anyway, this is not Scott. This is Mark. They're identical twins. It doesn't make sense to me. He's too, but I get it. He's the son of cops and he's a gun owner, notwithstanding the fact that he's anti, certain gun measures, given what happened to his wife. Okay. So Shapiro is definitely getting the most buzz, Shelby, but we're starting to hear other names. Oh, we have a little sound of Shapiro. Let's give the audience a listen to him.
You could not have a clearer contrast between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Think about it. 4 years as president. Guy stacks the NLRB with a bunch of corporate folks who have tried to rip away your rights every step of the way. We can't go back to that, and he can't defend that. This guy went to the Supreme Court of the United States, a place where Kamala Harris, as Attorney General in California, went to stand up to expand the freedoms for the good people of this nation.
A lot of people saying he sounds like Barack Obama in his cadence and his delivery. I can see it. Okay, but putting him to the side, I can see why we all agree he would be very appealing to her. Starting to hear some buzz about Walz, right? About Tim Walz. He's the Minnesota governor. I mean, I kind of forgot about Minnesota as a possible place, plucking ground for VPs. But why is this guy suddenly getting some buzz?
Yeah, he's been well known in Democratic politics, so he would be sort of a major figure. Somebody described, we did a piece recently just sort of diving into all of the possibilities that Harris has, and somebody described it to my colleague as basically like the most exciting group of white men that you could pick from, which is pretty accurate because a lot of these top names are white men. And so again, it goes into that identity politics. But one of the things I think that is a downside to Walz is he hasn't attracted as much national attention as some of the other folks. And so then that dives into the question of, does the vice presidential pick really matter? And there's arguments to be made on both sides of the aisle. I know some people believe, particularly for Harris, that it is going to matter. And I've heard that she is going to pick based solely on who is going to help her the most in some of these swing states, which I'm not sure it would necessarily be him over someone like a Shapiro. But then there's the argument that ultimately it doesn't really matter. It's a flash. It's going to be a really big news story for a few days, and then it's going to sort of fade into the background. And if you're going to vote for Harris or if you're going to vote for Donald Trump, then you're going to vote for them, and your vote is not really going to change because of who that person picks as their running mate, which I also think is a legitimate argument, but we'll see.
Well, especially given that she's 59 years old. I mean, Tim Walz is 60. I must say he looks a lot older than Kamala does. She looks good for 59. Mm-hmm. She's 59. God willing, she's going to have a nice long life ahead of her. This is not like when we elected Joe Biden, or frankly, even looking at Trump at 78, if you consider actuarial tables. The vice presidential pick is more relevant the older they are. So I think you're right. Like, yes, they want some balance. She's a black woman. Okay, you get the white man. Trump went a different route. I don't know. The Democrats are very identity politics focused, though. So is there any chance she is going to add a Gretchen Whitmer, Tara, who this morning said hard no?
I doubt it. I don't think they would risk that, adding two women to a ticket. I hate to say it as a woman myself, but I bet they think that the country isn't ready for two women on the top of the ticket. I
totally agree.
A vice president is not someone you go out to vote for, but you also don't want a vice president that gives you a reason not to vote for somebody, right? And in this case, like, Joe Biden was picked because he was seen as the elder statesman, the older white man with this young, vibrant Obama. It's like you want the yin to the yang, right? The salt to the pepper. That's what they're trying to do with Kamala Harris. They want people to feel like there's someone in her ear who's like a part of the establishment, a safe pair of hands. And who knows, maybe can deliver a state. Maybe Josh Shapiro out on the ground in the Rust Belt could really, help her with, it's just half a percentage point. It's like 40,000 voters. Who knows? He's very compelling. I mean, you just played that clip. I've also heard other names as well, but like Roy Cooper from North Carolina. That is like, Democrats cannot get the idea of winning North Carolina out of their head again after Obama. And, Roy Cooper, popular governor of North Carolina, older man. It's again, salt and pepper kind of thing going on. And yeah, I think he gets along with Kamala, and there's talk of him as well. But I don't know.
And there's talk of Andy Beshear of Kentucky, who Kentucky brings absolutely nothing to the ticket. We're not debating about Kentucky. The reason he's in consideration, Shelby, is he's a shit stirrer too. He's a pretty good arguer. We saw him. We played a soundbite of him last week attacking J.D. Vance as a fake hillbilly. And while J.D. Vance didn't much like that characterization, he's articulate and he's strong. I mean, he would be a very effective attack dog.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we're seeing on the Sunday shows is all of these candidates sort of, as we said, vying for this position and showing that they can be that attack dog. And I think the argument that, you need someone who is going to be able to obviously spread your message and go after Donald Trump's campaign coherently and aggressively in a way that maybe Harris doesn't want to, right? You need sort of these different styles oftentimes when you're running a presidential campaign. I also think the benefit to Beshear is obviously, he has known her for a while. And so there's an argument of, does Harris go and pick somebody who she trusts, right? And so there's arguments to be made for all of these candidates. But I think the one thing that a lot of the top ones that we've been talking about have in common is how their rhetoric is, how they can be an attack dog, how they're showing that they can be aggressive in a presidential campaign cycle and make the argument for Harris in a way.
And he's also a blue Democrat governor in a red state,
Absolutely.
which would be another reason he's on the list. Soon we're going to find out. Do we know the date on which we're going to find out? Trump kept it like the Celebrity Apprentice, not telling them. That was one of the interesting things JD told us on Friday is that, he literally got the call like a half an hour before. He missed the first call from Trump. And when Trump called back, he could hear JD's son in the background. And he said, put me on speaker. And he said to the little boy, your father just missed the most important phone call of his life. It's crazy. But anyway, do we know when she has to announce it or is going to announce it?
Well, there's a roll call on August 1st through 7th. The latest date is August 7th. It's the Ohio roll call. It's when the delegates decide who will be at the top of the ballot, basically, since Joe Biden is no longer on the Democratic ballot. And so she ostensibly needs to choose her running mate by that date, August 7th. I know we're doing the vetting process, or they're doing the vetting process in such a compressed amount of time. So they're probably dragging it out. It does add enthusiasm and kind of keeps a narrative around Kamala Harris that doesn't dwell on her faults or the things she said in her past. So there might be some sort of thinking to drag out the VP process. But when you don't have a running mate, you don't have someone out there fundraising for you, right? You don't have someone out there stumping for you. And I think she should choose this person sooner rather than later. But we're talking about 7 or 8 days. We're going to know at the very latest, August 7th. She can't drag it on after that.
You know how much my family and I love our dogs, even my sweet Strudwick. I can't imagine life without them. They have a great life, but some dogs are not so fortunate. And that is why I'm so glad to tell you about Delta Rescue, the largest no-kill, care-for-life animal sanctuary in the world. They've rescued thousands of dogs, plus cats and horses too. They provide all of these animals with shelter, safety, and most of all, love. And they've been doing it now for more than 45 years. Delta Rescue relies solely on contributions to stay open, and giving can bring tax benefits to you as well. So speak with your estate planner about how you could grow your estate while helping these animals in need. Check out the estate planning tab on their website if you want to learn more. We love our Thunder and Strudwick. Delta Rescue can help you share your love for animals by helping the pups and other animals who need it most. Visit deltarescue.org today to learn more. That's deltarescue.org. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.